nothing. You gotta force love, you got nothing. Start over. Boy, these raps be wearing hard hats, building up villages in the spots we tour at. Tsunami waves of thought, demolish your whole college. Build a world with bars like what y'all doing in Mars. A new spin on things to offer your
propaganda. How you feeling today?
Oh man, it's lit. It's been long, but like it's better than not having interviews about your book. You know what I'm saying?
So I want to just dive right in since you've been having all these interviews all day. You've probably been getting the same question.
And, you know, they've been various here and there. It's been cool because it's like the questions people have been asking have been like, "Oh, y'all read it." Like I could tell you read it. You know, it's nothing worse than being like, "So, what's your story? Tell me about yourself." I was like, "You ain't read this book, guys. It's all good. You ain't heard." Like it happens in music all the time, where like at the end of the show, they're like, "Yeah, man, I'd never heard of your music. You know, I hadn't listened." I'm like, "Yeah, I know you haven't." You know what I'm saying?
You gotta tell them. You better recognize. They gotta do research before they talking to a legend out here.
Oh Lord.
Oh, legend. So my first question: are you happy?
Oh, absolutely.
That's amazing. What makes you happy, genuinely?
Man, what makes me happy genuinely? I mean, a lot has to do with the inner work I've done where I'm like, I like me. You know, I like my company. I like being around me. I didn't always like me. You know what I'm saying? I ain't always like my company. You know what I'm saying? And as you get older, you start realizing like there's some stuff you just don't want around you no more. You know, and I'm okay with that now. You know, so I think that type of like that joy that's like already on the inside, and now I'm gathering around me people, situations, you know, things that I know, you know, that makes me happy. That brings me joy. That, you know what I'm saying? So like, yeah, I think, but to get particular, you know, my family makes me happy. They also frustrate me, you know, but they make me happy, you know, having a product finish makes me happy, you know what I'm saying? Being desired, you know, people want to talk to me, that makes me happy, you know, but also like the nice breeze outside makes me happy, you know?
The simple things in life we take for granted, like just being able to breathe.
It's great.
It is, but what really brought so much attention to me, the inner work you have done on yourself.
Yeah.
How was that process? Can you dive deeper for us?
Yeah, it's like her name's there's this feminist thinker named Carol Hanisch. She has this phrase which turns out like towards the end of the book became like really like an anchoring story for it, but like the personal is political, in that like, you know, culture can only be as healed as we are. So as I'm out here really thinking about like how we can change the world, like what we can do, and then, you know, as far as, you know, Black people are concerned, like we out here like really trying to change laws while actively suffering from them same laws, you know what I'm saying? So we mess around, get exhausted, you know, we getting beat while this is happening, and like, and then the change don't come, but like I need it right now because you're standing on my windpipe. Like if you don't be able to pull away from that and be like, let me do this inner work, let me take care of my soul and my family, my home, myself, you know what I'm saying? So it's because the personal is political. The more healed I am, the more healed culture can become, you know.
Come on, because you already know we are the culture.
You got
a whole song. That song is especially dope itself, and you got a song called Dope too. Like it just all flows together because how you just so good with your words. Can you just tell us how we are the culture real quick?
Yeah. So from an academic perspective, it's like, you know, to think culture is something separate from us means you don't know how it's made. Culture in it is, it's really actually very simple. It's two humans trying to figure out how to live and to stay alive, you know? So the collection of that, whether it's our languages, our practices, our norms, our familiar structures, that is culture. So if culture is like, so the idea of being at war with it is ridiculous because we are it. It's not something separate from us. Culture is evil. That's culture messed up. That's because we messed up. You know what I'm saying? Because we made it. We made all this stuff up. So since we are the culture, I can't be at war with it. I'm not trying to save it because I am it. You know. So I am participating in a collective imagination that we're all a part of, that like if there are bits and pieces of it that aren't working, then I get to go, hey guys, I don't know if you know, but we made all this up. We don't have to keep doing that part. Like we could do something else because we made it up and it's us. We are it. We are the culture, you know?
Yeah, just for us to get that attention of the power that we have.
Yeah.
Like you tapped into your power, and now you understand the conscious mind that you have, especially in this physical world, because you're so tapped in also to the spiritual. How do you balance this world and the spiritual?
I love it, man. I think as I've kind of traveled and grown, I think I just see less of a divide between the two. In that, especially like when you start thinking about, you know, depression and mental health issues and you know, and all the things that come with like what it means to really have a healthy brain, and healthy emotions, you know, all the intangible things, how much of that I could say, you know, I use my own experience, my own culture for that example, is like some of that is just our diet. Like we just don't eat well. So now all of a sudden, you know what I'm saying, I'm in this funk. I feel like I'm being attacked, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, well, they're really not, are you getting enough sleep? You know what I'm saying? Like, are these other things, you know what I'm saying? And then the other way around, where like when your brain, when your soul, you feel like your spirit is not well, how that stuff shows up. One of my favorite books is this book called The Body Keeps Score. And it's like, it's about the idea of like these things that happen in this like non-material world, that they show up somewhere. They show up in a weird shoulder, a weird knee, or, you know, just a stomach problem. It's like, so I think for me, it's like, it's realizing that they're not as separate as I once thought they were.
That's powerful. How you mentioned just mental health, especially just being a Black man in America, you usually get all of that. Like, it seems like you express yourself so well with your poetry and your music. How else do you take care of your mental health?
I love it, dude. Look, I take Sabbaths. Like, there are times that I'm unreachable, you know. I have my own rituals. I got my meditation, you know, my stupid little Calm app, you know what I'm saying? I got my like vices that I know, like, you know, lift me up, you know, rather than destroy me. I have like hobbies that aren't for public consumption, you know what I'm saying, that I can afford to be horrible at. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm doing it just for the joy of it. And there's a whole life that's like just not for public consumption. You know what I'm saying? And I think that having something that's just mine, that isn't a part of my brand, has been for me very, very, very helpful for my mental health.
That's amazing. What would you say to the men that are not so tapped into their emotions and they're covering up, and to give them that strength to understand, like, it's power in being vulnerable, it's power in protecting your energy?
Yeah, I would say that, like, again, it's like, it's gonna show up. It's coming out whether you want it to or not. And it's just gonna come out in the most damaging way. And I bet you it already has. I bet you already got stuff in your body, in your relationships, you know, in your friendships, in broken hearts, in broken relationships with your family. That's really just because you ain't take care of yourself. You know what I'm saying? You ain't ask yourself those questions. You're not letting yourself rest. And I understand the idea of, like, you know, my version of that, like, toxicity is like, I lean towards like workaholic. Like I was always an artist, so I wasn't necessarily very violent and like closed off. My thing is like, I'm just gonna go to work, and so I'll do an 80-hour week and be like, this is great. I provided something for the world. Like, nah, this is what men do, they work. But I'm avoiding, you know what I'm saying? And I'm pissy and I'm exhausted. And when my children are asking to watch a little TV show with their mom and not with me, I could tell myself, oh, well, I'm just, men don't have those type of emotions. I'm not really nurturing like that. But I'm sad. I'm sad that my kids don't want to cuddle with me. You know what I'm saying? And why? It's because, man, I'm not well. So I think that, like, at the end of the day, man, like I said, like, if you're not taking care of yourself, you're not fooling nobody. You know what I'm saying? You only fooling you only lying to you. You ain't lying to me. We could all see you ain't good. You know what I'm saying? And it's gonna show up, and it's gonna show up when you don't want it to. And it's gonna be out of your control. So I just think, like, man, like, get a hold of that. Like, you don't have to live this way. I got pressed recently by some hood dudes, you know what I'm saying? About the idea that, like, look, man, like, I'm not in high school no more, man. Like, it's not.
This ain't that.
This ain't that. Like, okay, but if you need this, you know what I'm saying? It was some, like, just some stuff, that happened, you know what I'm saying? Like with my family that, like I still live in the hood, you know what I'm saying? Like I still live in that side of town. So there was like parts in the hood where, like, one of the OGs was like, just come pressing me. And I'm just like, look, man, I'm a dad, bro. Like, you see me out here mowing this lawn. Like, what is you worried about?
Literally, yeah. I am trying to take care of mine.
Yeah.
I don't need no trouble.
Look, it's your world. This your block. Okay, you need me to tell you that? This your block, homie. I'm a guest. Yeah. Is that what you need? Wow. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
That is powerful because you didn't let that ego, like, get in the way. How did you manage, like, to detach yourself from your ego?
Well, one thing is, I mean, it's kind of the premise of, like, my Hood Politics podcast, to where it's like, I just know how to talk to gangsters. You know what I'm saying? Like, just from being around them my whole life. You know what I mean? Like, in the sense of, there are cards I don't have to reveal to you, but what I need to do is get to the solution quick, and since I'm the one that doesn't feel like I'm being attacked, I think Schoolboy Q says it best. He's one of my favorite, because he was like, he's admitting, like, I just let people know off the top I'm sensitive. And he was like, I'm sensitive. We kill each other over the colors of rags. It's because we sensitive. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, so at least he has that awareness. You know what I'm saying? So in my sense, I'm like, I have the awareness that I'm like, okay, you need something right now. So I'm like, what do you need? And so that's what I can get to immediately. I'm detached from this. You don't know me. You know what I'm saying? You don't know who I am. You don't know really how I move either. You know what I'm saying? But I know you need something. And standing in front of my house, I'm like, okay, you need me to acknowledge that you've been through some things. Okay, you got it. And it's almost like my hope is in that environment that he walks away being like, oh, that was weird. Like,
I got what I wanted.
Yeah. And like, did I really want that? What was I doing with this? What did bother me about this? You know what I'm saying? So when you just say, my man, like, hey, homie, I'm just mowing the lawn, bro. Like, you see me every day. I'm paying the same taxes you paying. Which, like, this is your block? Like, okay, sure, it's your block. We good?
Yes, not
yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's what I'm saying to him. I'm like, are we good? Like, are we good? Okay. All right, well, check this out. I'm gonna see you tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? Like, we live here. Like, I don't understand
where we're going with this.
Where we going with this. And now, like, these dudes, like, they the homies. That ain't, they the homies every time. What's up, man? What's up, man? We check in with each other like it's all good. You know what I'm saying? Because I just think it was like, look, bro, like maybe you see that like I'm not in that, and I don't need to be in that, but I understand it. You know what I'm saying? I understand what you need, you know, but maybe you don't actually need that, bro.
Wow, that like whole circumstance just visualize a test for me, because people come in our lives to try to test us, like test our character, test our patience, test our words. How else do you maneuver these obstacles that try to get you out of your character?
Man, sometimes it works. Sometimes it does get me out. You know what I'm saying? But I think for me, it's like community, it's homies, it's family, it's like people to bounce ideas off, to be like, hey, like somebody that you could check in with, like, yo, am I tripping? Am I tripping right now? You know what I'm saying? And then have people that would be like, yes, you tripping. You know what I'm saying? And then others would be like, nah, you good? Like, this is what happened. So I think a lot of that has to do with, just having that type of community around you that can like call you on it if you need it, you know?
Need the community. You mentioned about the inner questions that you have to ask yourself as a man. What questions did you ask yourself?
I like that. One was, what does man mean? Like, what do I mean by masculine? And where I get that from? And is it still serving me? You know? So I think those were, what does father mean? What does husband mean? What does leader mean? What is activist? What does any of this mean? And where did I get it from? So I think that those were those like bigger questions. And being able to be okay with like, if the answer is, I got that from my father. I got that from the streets. That I made up. You know what I'm saying? That, you know what I mean? And be like, yo, I don't know where I got that from. You know, and then once that happens, to be like, all right, so are you gonna let it go? All right, like, you gonna let it go or not? You know, and it's crazy because then there's this meta moment, because I'm like, well, faced with the truth, I feel like the most manly thing to do is to face it and deal with it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, that's what it is. Then I need to let it go. And I metaphorically speaking, you can't cry about it. I mean, literally, it's like, yeah, you can mourn that. That's a loss. Like, mourn the loss. You know what I'm saying? But it's a loss, and then it's over. You know, so I think that those questions for me as a man was like, well, what do I mean by man? And where did I get that from?
That's awareness right there.
It's hard too. It's painful. Yeah.
Yo, because we don't be questioning things like this. Sometimes society just gets in our head and we have this herd mentality, just go along with just this way of life and not even question, really, what does a man mean? What does a husband mean?
Yeah, especially in a time that, like, you know, you hear the term like toxic masculinity for so long, that I'm like, well, what's healthy masculinity? Like, all I know is what it's not. So I'm like, well, what is it? You know what I mean? So those, and it's like getting out of it. There's a poem in the book that I kind of like try to like bring that into focus, to where it's like this imaginary story where you would ask the northern North American black bear, like, what they think about the shrinking tropical rainforests. And the bear basically says, what's a forest? Because you're just in it. You don't, like, the bear lives in a forest. They just don't know it. That's just their world. Wow. You know what I'm saying? So being able to step out of it and go, oh, I didn't see it because I was in it, you know? But once you pull out, you're like, this is silly. Or actually, that's beautiful. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Wow. You really got to see the bigger picture of this life.
You got to, man. You got to.
For what it is. Talk to us about the book, Building a Better World. Come on, you doing it.
Man, I'm trying. So
hey, not trying, you doing it, man.
Yeah. So the book is called TERRAFORM, Building a Better World. It's a collection of poetry and short form essay built around this concept of what terraform means, which is science fiction word about when you find a distant planet, the process of making that planet livable is called terraforming. So I was like, well, if I look around Earth, I'm like, it's becoming less and less livable. So maybe we should start doing that here, you know, whether it's socioculturally, interpersonally, politically, and then in our homes, our families, our communities, and then also ourselves, like our own inner world. Like we need to think about building, because what we have now was made up. We built that, you know what I'm saying? So like, well, let's build something better then.
Wow. It's like you're really truly like stretching our minds and our hearts to like go deeper within.
So I'm trying to, man, imagine something else, you know, because what we have was imagined. And I think that that's the thing. It's like, I'd love to stress that like what is at some point was made up, you know? So if that's the case, then let's make up something else. Right?
What do you have in mind to make up?
Man, I mean, I feel like that's why I tried to do with the book, was leave it so open-ended with such a big word that I'm like, I want all of us to collectively imagine. You know, I have my ideas. I think, you know, living in, you know, California in the modern United States, I'm like, okay, so our two-party system just ain't working. It's not. I mean, it's just, why are we doing this? It don't work. You know what I'm saying? I think that this, like the way that we're doing capitalism, I'm not against I mean, I'm selling the book, so I'm not against it, but I think the way that we're doing it, it doesn't have to be exploitive. Like, it doesn't have to be like this. Like, we can, there's another way to do this, you know? So, or there's something else that I've never thought of rather than another way to do the same thing. Maybe there's something else. I don't know.
I really realize in capitalism, they are trying to sell us that we're not enough. Like we lack something. We have no self-worth. Like we have this emptiness within us. So we need to fill it up with a whole bunch of stuff.
For sure, man. It's like, I like to think of it like this, like capitalism itself as a concept is amoral. It's not immoral, it's amoral. It doesn't have any morals. It has no concern about the person at all. It's maximizing profits. You know, the return on investment, that's, I need to get my widget in your hands. That's my concern. And the best, and I'm good at that. My ability to do that is how I can mark whether I'm good or not at capitalism, is if I can get it in your hands. Well, what's the best way to do that? Was to manipulate your emotions. I mean, there's no morals to this. It's just what you do. You know what I'm saying? And I'm saying it don't have to be that way. It don't have to be amoral. Like there is another way to do this that says, what do I value? Well, if I value the person that I'm selling to, and also the people that helped create the product, then I'm going to function differently. I'm going to move differently. I'm just valuing other things, you know?
Wow. From your heart though, like it's selling it from your heart, and that the soul, like we're losing that connection with one another because of this society that is getting to. And I love how you are telling us to imagine. How do you hone into your imagination?
Man, mine is like, just like staying curious, man. Like just looking at other things, wondering what's going on, finding other spaces and things that aren't in my field, like looking at astronomy, you know, reading Pakistani poetry, just like looking at other stuff, you know what I'm saying, that's got nothing to do with what I do. It just keeps your imagination sharp, you know. So that's one of the things that I do to keep imagining, you know.
Wow. I would love to know, how was it growing up a son of a Black Panther, and what did you teach your children now?
Yeah. So by the time my father was a father, by the time I was around, like his revolutionary days was over. You know, he was a dad by then. But we still had, you know, this picture you see back here that was on my wall when I was a child, you know, which is, for the audio listeners, it's the 1968 Olympics when the brothers put their fists up with their,
Gotta
you
throw
know,
it
Black
up.
Panther things. Yeah. So that was on our wall. The picture of Martin and Malcolm when they first met, that was on our wall. The Timbuktu Road, the 5 Kingdoms of West Africa, like all this stuff, Ghana, Mali, and Songhai, like this stuff was on my wall as a child, you know. And then what was unique about my own situation was like, this was all happening inside of a almost 100% Mexican American neighborhood, you know. So this cross section of like what the way we saw the world at home versus how I saw it outside, and just kind of seeing the interconnections of just suffering people everywhere, and just having this idea of like you're a part of a longer history. I think that probably the biggest thing that I took away from my father's sort of type of upbringing was like, you're a part of a longer story, and what you are is beautiful, you know. And with that, you have a duty to generations behind you, you know, and to suffering people everywhere. You have a duty.
You got a duty, and you doing your duty out here. You doing it.
Thank you.
You doing it. What else do you have up and coming, and how can we support you in any other way?
Yeah, depending on where you are, you know, I got a pop-up signing out in Nashville at this spot called Subculture. I'm doing a Juneteenth celebration at OKC. I'm starting to get outside, which is dope. But yeah, man, I'm releasing music. We're releasing EPs all through the year. They're all going with the book, you know. So we have Terraform the People, that's already out. The next one is Terraform the Sky within the next couple weeks. But yeah, just keep up with me at prophetpop.com, man. It'll show you everything I'm doing, my whole schedule.
That's amazing. And last question, I have to ask you, what does love mean to you?
Man, wow, it's hard, man. I think love is, it's vulnerable, it's selfless, you know, it's putting the thing above yourself, whatever the thing is, in the sense of if we're saying like a relationship, I'm like, the thing we're building, this relationship is worth the sacrifices of my pride, of my ego, of myself, you know, because I believe in this, you know, and this can only be created in weird ways with the two people that are creating it. If it's another person, it's something else, you know. So I think love is that sacrifice, is that selflessness, is that willingness to be vulnerable and intimate, you know.
Wow. So amazing. Come on, poet.
Thank you so much.
I just appreciate you. And also one more, since we're talking about love, I'm a huge advocate for self-love. Tell us about how is your self-love journey?
It was hard, man. It was hard. You know, there's always the like striving to be better, you know, in a sense of like just demanding excellence for yourself. So I didn't have what I would have characterized as negative self-talk. I didn't know I did. You know, I thought this was my motor, you know, that like I am my worst critic. I'm my own competition. I'm not fighting nobody else. I'm fighting myself, you know. And I was exhausted because, well, how do I know if I did good? Well, I know I did good by comparing myself to someone else, which I told myself I wasn't doing, you know. And if they're at a place that I would perceive further along, then now I'm in a funk for the next few days, you know. So I think for me, self-love is like this idea of like being gracious to myself, you know, because there's no way in the world I would treat a homie the way that I treat myself. You know what I'm saying? I would definitely tell a homie if he being trash that was trash. So I wouldn't lie to the homie, you know what I'm saying? So in the same way, I'm not gonna lie to myself. If I'm being trash, I'm being trash. But I think that allowing myself breaks, grace. I spend my Saturdays usually down in this area of Los Angeles called Leimert Park, off the Crenshaw district, because it's blackety black. And it's, you know what I'm saying? And it's just peace and love and having fun. So I just be sitting out there, soaking in the vibes. It's, it's reggae, it's soul music. It's just culture. So like that for me is like a self-love, you know what I'm saying? To like go and just not have a name, just be part of the culture, part of the community, and just enjoy myself.
That's phenomenal. I pray much success over your life and your family.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm gonna meet you at the top, and thank you, listeners, for tuning in, tapping in, and we will see you at the top.